So here's something else, though, as far as terrifying. I talked about this not only last year, but I talked about it last week. Regarding the United States being the last bastion of freedom, when people say, oh, we're all Americans, and, well, the right has gone too far. Do you want to know how far the left would go? When people say the right has gone too far right, compare Ronald Reagan compare him to anyone today, actually. The right has become more moderate in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The right has become more moderate, and the left has become more extreme. If you want to know what the mainstream left would have in the United States as it relates to COVID, as it relates to your personal liberties, it's very easy. Just look at what mainstream left, mainstream liberals, what they've achieved in other countries. Places like Australia, places like Canada, places like the UK. That's what they would have here. Now, new poll came out that was shocking. We had to double, triple, quadruple check it. It's available. Link in the description, louderwithcrowder.com. But first, here is me talking about this last week. Keep in mind, the only fail-safe that you have here in the United States is that there is still some semblance of a conservative wing. When people say, oh, both sides. No. One side wants you to be forced into lockdown. One side wants the kind of concentration camps that they have, quarantine camps in Australia. Now, I don't want to do the Alex Jones be like, I told you about this 4 years ago. They had pig humanoid kybrids, okay? They are duct taping swine scalps to rats and then forcing them to mate with humans. Gay frogs!
All correct, by the way.
I said they were turning the frogs gay. Look, today, brings up a picture of just a frog in the Liza Minnelli fan club. I told you!
Come on.
Colloidal silver.
The signs were there.
Gotta have him back.
Yes, we absolutely do.
Via helicopter.
Yeah,
love Alex.
Here's the bad thing. Happens to us whenever we do that.
I was not only correct, I just didn't know how quickly and how severely it would escalate. New Rasmussen survey just came out.
And all references on the website. Well, so yeah, you can
59%, though, of Democrats favor unvaxxed people being confined to their homes at all times.
There we go.
There we go.
Nice job.
Hey.
45%, this surprised me, 45% of Democrats favor internment at special facilities for those who refuse the vax. That's basically half. Half of all Democrats. Yeah. And by the way, this includes Democrat voters who think that former Vice President Biden has gone too far. This includes half of Democrat voters who think that we're at the point where we should be past the curve. This includes half of Democrat voters who think that we've gone too far. Keep in mind, this is not the Democratic Party representatives. You know that this is more moderate than the party of Nancy Pelosi and AOC. Yeah. This is the voting base. Half of them believe that you should be interned. You should be put in an internment camp if you don't take the VATs. The VATs. They also want VAT tax. That's another segment.
This is the whole reason that when we started talking about the internment camps in Australia, everybody was like, oh, come on, you're overblowing it. This could never come to the United States.
Why are you using that word?
Voluntary quarantine. Summer camps. It's the summer of love in Portland. It could be summer camps.
Voluntary quarantine services.
Yeah, but
by the way, if you escape, there's a manhunt.
Well, yeah, but it's also not voluntary. That's
also the thing. What they do is they show up. They go, "Hey, listen, we had a positive test for COVID, and what we have here is you can drive yourself to the internment camp voluntarily, or the police car can drive you, and you'll have to pay $5,400. Choice is yours. It's voluntary." And you're like, "Well, crap. Do I have to watch the net? That's part of the deal."
I had voluntary summer workouts at Notre Dame. Yeah, they'll just cancel your scholarship if you don't show up, but it's voluntary.
Last time I ate bad shrimp, I had voluntary diarrhea.
These places have no stopgap. There is no. Yeah, and that's what we're looking at.
So nothing in their constitution to stop
us. Yeah.
No.
45% of Democrats favor internment, special facilities. In a word, that means that Democrats want they want this.
So this, I'm going to give you a warning, yeah? It's an official warning that you have to stand in the balcony and obey the rules while you're here, yeah?
Why are these guys in a cabin that's right near the fence? It makes no sense, does it?
Yeah, but you can't leave your balcony to go to the fence to talk to somebody else. That's just obvious, yeah?
So if I was
No, it's not. It's not obvious. It's the opposite.
There has to be lines everywhere drawn, yeah?
No.
And
stop saying yeah.
You cannot leave your balcony and you cannot go to someone else. Where it makes no sense or it doesn't seem right to you, that is the line, and that's what the law is there, and that's how it goes, yeah? While you're here, can we just do that? Otherwise, the next time it's a $5,000 fine, and we don't want to do that.
It's a $5,000 fine if what?
Fine. If you breach again.
If I walk out onto that path.
Without your mask on, for no reason other than the laundry.
If I cross that yellow line,
saying that you've broken the rule.
That I've broken the rule, I will
insane.
be issued with a $5,000 fine.
That's correct.
So let me just be really clear here when we use the term voluntary. This is a voluntary quarantine camp where You are held against your will. You are forced to stay behind the yellow line of your porch against your will unless you're wearing a mask and exclusively going to do laundry, or you're fined $5,000. That's what voluntary looks like. I just want to make sure that it's not. Comment below. Have I misunderstood this entire time the concept of voluntary?
I think so. I thought this was clickbait. When I saw some of the stats on this come out, I was like, oh my gosh, hey guys, take a look at this. Make sure you research it and confirm this stuff, because I'm like, there's no way that this is true life. And it is.
Yeah.
47%. This one didn't make it in there, but I found it. 47% favor a government tracking program for the unvaccinated. They want the government to know where you are at all times.
You see that like it's a problem.
I thought Australians were hardy folk. I really did. But anybody that acquiesced to the crown, you look at Canada, these people, they're different. They have aligned differently, and this is the perfect test.
They gave up their guns.
That's their whole society is based on that.
Canada is the perfect control test versus what we're doing here.
Yeah. Well, here's another stat.
Been willing to give up any right.
48% of Democrats, these are the Democrat voters, again, so this is going to be far more moderate than the people in charge, the people who want to do away with the filibuster, the people who want to make it illegal for states to require ID to vote. This is the voting base, so this is as moderate as you are going to get. 48% of Democrats favor fining or imprisoning people who publicly question vaccine efficacy. Wow. Half of the Democrat voting base believe in imprisoning you if you question the efficacy of the vaccine, which, by the way, Fauci just said everyone's going to get Omicron. So they believe in imprisoning people for publicly questioning that. I know you're saying, well, this is just a poll. Okay, hold on a second. Where else have we seen people be imprisoned for questioning? People be imprisoned for speech? People be imprisoned simply for not complying? Well, we have a couple for you. Let's go on back to the Outback.
But yesterday things really stepped up a notch. When officers arrived, it became fairly physical fairly quickly, and the shop owner, a 53-year-old man from Wishart, was arrested as people watched on and filmed on their mobile phones. He now faces several charges, including obstruct police and also failure to comply with a health directive. It's expected he'll face court in March.
Isn't it funny how that's obstructing police, but George Floyd was compliant?
Very compliant.
Yeah.
We just look at it. And then in Canada, my horrible homeland, I'm ashamed. I used to have a dual citizenship. I don't think that I've renewed it. I don't plan on ever going back at this point. I wish I could be prouder of Canada than I am.
It's for life, Stephen.
I am ashamed. Well, I don't care. I reject.
I rip it up.
I reject.
I defect. I defect my Canadian citizenship.
Pour out the maple syrup.
And any Canadian who is not disgusted with what's going on in your country right now, shame on you. Absolutely. And I don't use that term lightly. You should be you guys should be, I shouldn't say just ashamed. You should be embarrassed. The men of Canada right now,
yes,
you honestly should feel embarrassed. This is embarrassing for you, because in Canada, they do imprison. Here's that pastor who was arrested. This is like the third time he's been arrested. Here you go.
This is sick. You get orders from corrupted politicians, corrupted leaders, and this is what you do.
What's going through their head?
Just
what's going through this police officer's head? Is this what they signed up for? You hear that all the time in these videos. Is this what you signed up for? When have you signed up to protect and serve?
To arrest pastors?
What are you thinking of?
Yeah. By the way, just
arresting pastors, arresting business owners, arresting just citizens.
Yeah. People for walking their dog past curfew.
It's crazy.
Just following orders has never been accepted.
Never.
When you're doing stuff like this.
As a matter of fact, I think it's always the last line of the bad guy, of the coward bad guy in the film, who's the second in command to the real bad guy. Right, his last line before he gets blown away is usually, "I was just doing my job. I'm doing mine."
And to Gerald's point earlier about like some 40% of Democrats being in favor of a tracking system in Canada, also from Canada, this is from Mission Control. The search is on in Canada for an anti-vaccination dad who is accused of hiding his 7-year-old daughter to keep her from being vaccinated against COVID-19. The search is on.
What in the hell are we doing?
Check the floorboards.
29%, while we're talking about kids, favor removing custody of Democrat voters now. 29%. So let's round it to 30. If I may?
Fair.
Round it to 30. Favor removing custody of children from parents who are unvaccinated. Favor removing custody just because the children are unvaccinated. And I know, we say, okay, that's happened. We just showed some clips from things that have happened elsewhere. But something like this is a bridge too far. That would never happen in the United States, right?
I miss my son more than anything. It's been very difficult. I haven't seen him since August 10th.
August 10th, that's the day Rebecca Furlid appeared in court via Zoom along with her ex-husband for a child support hearing involving their 11-year-old son. Now, the two share custody, or had shared custody in parenting time, 50-50. She says out of the blue, Cook County Judge James Shapiro asked her whether she'd been vaccinated. She told him no, she had not, because she's had bad reactions to vaccines in the past. Judge Shapiro then ordered that she be stripped of all parenting time with her son until she gets vaccinated.
Can I just order Judge Shapiro to be stripped?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I mean, think about how that's going to go. 29% think that they could just show up at your door and knock. Do you think parents are willingly giving up their kids? Do you think parents are really going to let you show up with guns drawn and take their children?
I think a lot of parents will, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's the look, this is something that I just discussed the other day. Okay. And I think this is important because the left tries to say, oh, the right is calling for civil war, and that's not at all what's happening here. I think it's important for people to understand people often operate based on emotion, or they can be rash, and you need to make sure that you don't do that, right? You need to make sure that you're disciplined. But then a lot of people on the flip side operate out of fear, out of cowardice. How do you know when you're doing that? This is sort of a litmus test that I use. If something is happening that's very emotionally disturbing, something that could obviously get you, let's say, very heated, and you set a deadline or a timeline. You say, look, I'm going to sit, I'm going to wait, and don't do anything rash. I'm going to wait 2 days before I respond, or I'm going to wait 2 days before I make my decision. And if you find yourself not honoring your self-imposed timeline, that means you're acting out of emotion. That means you need to get that in check. That means you're not being disciplined. On the flip side, if you set a line in the sand and you say, all right, you know what? No one can come to my house and take my children. And then you find yourself not honoring your own self-imposed line in the sand, you're a coward. If then that line gets breached and you go, well, I guess they're just taking the kid to the camp for 2 days. That's not that bad. The first example, you're acting out of emotion. That's a bad thing. But the second example is just as evil. You're acting out of cowardice and fear. You need to put those boundaries up. You need to make sure you're not acting out of emotion. You're not just acting because you're mad or you're sad or you're feeling a certain way in that moment. You need to make sure you're not doing that. But you need to make sure that there is a line, and don't allow that line to be crossed. Figure out what it is, or you're acting out of cowardice.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.